Ever feel like nothing is working no matter what you try? You're not alone. Today, I'm sharing practical ways to stay encouraged when teaching feels impossible. Stay tuned.
Are you a Christian teacher exhausted by constant disruptions, overwhelmed by chaos, and simply feeling unheard? Hi friends, I'm Trish, a wayfinder for Christian teachers, educator, and survivor of complex childhood trauma. I've walked hard roads and now help you navigate yours. In the Society's Child podcast, you'll get faith-based encouragement, trauma-informed strategies, and mental health tools to calm behaviors, restore peace, and create real connection in your classroom. You're not alone, my friends. Let's find the way forward together.
Hey friends, welcome back to Society's Child. Last week in episode 122, we talked about the frazzled feeling and feeling too frazzled to teach. And we talked about how you can stay calm when your class isn't calm or it doesn't feel calm to you. And we also talked about why a regulated teacher creates a calmer classroom. And so if you've listened each week and talking about the different ways that you might feel here, at the end of the day, you're still feeling discouraged. I want to encourage you to be here and let's think about how we can work through this. Because let's be honest, teaching is exhausting no matter which way you look at it. It's discouraging and downright heartbreaking at times. And especially if we can't walk into it with a good mindset of why we're here, it's very difficult to pour our heart into our students and then see some still struggle. You even try new classroom strategies, but the same behaviors keep showing up. You want to make a difference, but you leave work feeling like you're failing and you're just simply completely discouraged. So if that sounds like you, I need you to hear this, my friends. You are not alone. This is not the end. Your career does not have to stop here. I've been right where you are, and I've been in a place where I wondered, why am I even doing this work? So I want to tell you that I understand what it feels like to go home at the end of the day and completely discouraged because there's a certain set of kids, a certain class, a certain set of rules, or a certain set of administrators that just seemed to be making my life miserable, and I didn't know why I was continuing to do the work I was doing. I want to remind you, and you know this, teaching isn't just about lesson plans and behavior management. My friends, it's about the unseen work that happens in students, in the lives long after they've left your classroom. And that's where we need to wrap our head around. And that's what we need to come to work with every day. So today I really want to give you some encouragement and help you to remember that you're planting seeds even when you don't see the harvest. So I want to talk to you about how you can hold on to that truth when everything else feels hard. So how do we stay encouraged when progress feels invisible? So your students are struggling, but I want you to know that is not a reflection of you. There are administrators who will say that our classroom scores are a reflection of our teaching. But my friends, if you are in there doing your best and you are working to improve, you're working to do all of the best practices that you can possibly implement, it's not you. Your student struggles are not a reflection of you. So it's easy to take student behavior and performance personally. And it's easy for administrators or someone to blame us for our students not doing well, as if their struggles mean you're not doing enough. But the truth is, students are dealing with things far beyond our control. And I want to encourage you today that you will get past this milestone of whatever you're feeling right now, whatever has you down. So here's a brain science fact for you. And we're always talking on this show about trauma and social emotional learning and things like that. So students who have experienced trauma, chronic stress, or instability, they may take years to develop trust. They may not care that you're walking in that room. And it may have nothing to do with you. They just simply have a system, a central nervous system that cannot trust. They may have zero skills in emotional regulation, and they may have zero learning consistency. That is not a reflection of you. Their progress isn't linear, and that is not your fault, my friends. If you take anything away from what I'm saying today, do your best not to take that personally. So I want you to ask yourself, or instead of asking, why isn't this student changing? Maybe you can come up with something like, What kind of safe space am I providing for the student today? Because ultimately that kid who's going through the chronic stress, who's living in instability, they might just need someone to be there for them, just literally to walk alongside them, to see them, acknowledge them, affirm them. Their struggles aren't a reflection of your failure. Their healing doesn't happen on your timeline. You're still making an impact, my friends, even when you don't see it. So the next time a student doesn't respond to your effort, remind yourself, I am responsible for planting seeds, not controlling the outcome. Hang on to that, my friends. So number 2, the second thing I want you to think about, long-term impact isn't always visible in the moment. I have had students come back to me as recently in the last 4 to 5 years who talk to me about things that happened in my classroom. We live in a results-driven world, grades, test scores, behavior charts. But real growth, my friends, takes time. Think about how long it took you to learn some of your personal lessons. Did just because your mom say, hey, stop doing that, and you learned your lesson and you did what you needed to do and boom, you're better? No, it's a gradual process. And our students are the same way. So that student who seems checked out today, they may remember your kindness years from now. They'll come back and thank you for it. Trust me, I've had them do it.
Hi, friend. I wanted to pause right here and just take a moment to ask you for a special favor. If you are finding anything helpful in this episode or any previous episodes that you've listened to, would you pause right now, go into the Apple Podcast app, scroll down to the bottom of the show, and find the Leave a Review button. It would be awesome if you would take a moment and follow the show and do this. There are people out there just like you looking for this information, and this would help the algorithm get this into other people's hands, and it would be helpful for them as well. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's one of the biggest favors that you can do for me. I appreciate you and thank you in advance for taking the time to do this. So let's get right back to the show.
The student who refuses to engage may be absorbing a lot more than you think. Their head might be down, but you never know what they're listening to, what they're tuning into, or what they're paying attention to. The student who pushes you away, they may come back later and say thank you. I've had that happen as well. And science backs this up. Psychologists call this the delayed impact effect. Sometimes our greatest influence isn't received until years later. So think about when you've had lessons or realizations or things happen in your life, it wasn't until you had that ability to look back that you can actually say hindsight is 20/20, and you've had those realizations that, wow, that was probably the best thing that happened to me. So instead of thinking, I need to see the results now, I need the student to change now, I want this to be different now, trust that what you're doing matters, even if you don't see it yet. Tell yourself, I trust what I'm doing, and I trust that it matters, even if I don't see it yet. Some seeds that you're going to be planting, they could take months, years, decades to grow. It might be one tiny thing, and they may not even realize it. It could be a psychological, subconscious thought. But faithfulness in these small moments add up. You are shaping lives beyond what you can measure. I promise you, my friends, you are making a difference, whether you can realize it or not. It's very hard sometimes to zoom out and see the larger picture when you're in the middle of turmoil, leaving your classroom every day on your knees, completely discouraged and ready to give up. So here's something that you can do. Go home and keep a small wins journal. Write down moments of impact, a kind note from a student. I used to keep a folder with letters of appreciation, a small behavioral improvement, or something that I would see in the kids, a moment of laughter in the class. Someone did something today. And I think I still have that folder of little things that kids gave me over the years, and I saved a lot of that. And when the discouragement hits, you can look back at these moments. They're proof that your work matters. And I want to encourage you to do this because in these moments of discouragement, you need a ray of sunshine. You need a light to look to because there are bright, shiny spots in the middle of this darkness. We've got to magnify those bright, shiny spots to be able to get the darkness to go away a little bit. The third thing I want you to remember is God calls you to plant seeds, not harvest overnight. He wants us in this in the long haul. He wants us to work with our kids, and especially, I don't think the kind of traumas that we have today existed back then. I don't really know. There's no way of knowing, or maybe it was done in secret. But we often want immediate validation for what we're doing is working. And I can tell you with trauma, it's not an overnight thing. I was someone who lived in foster care, and I had a lot of abuse growing up, and it took me years and years and years of therapy. And even as a 50-something-year-old woman, I'm still growing and I'm still learning through that. But God's kingdom doesn't work like popcorn, my friends. It's not like a microwave. It's a slow process. So I want you to remember 1 Corinthians 3:6. It says, I planted the seed. Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. And that's exactly what he's doing, my friends. Your role is faithfulness, not results. If you can wrap your head around anything as a teacher, it's about showing up, being faithful, being consistent, doing what you need to do, and wrapping your head around the fact that you're there helping the least of these. The impact you make is bigger than you can see, my friends. God is working in those unseen places. So instead of worrying, am I doing enough? God is saying to yourself, God is working through me in ways I can't see. Write these little mantras down. Take them to work with you. When you're feeling discouraged, put them on paper. Write something down that makes sense to you and your language. Trust the process, my friends. Do your best and let God handle the rest. Here's something else I want you to encourage you to do. Each morning, I would encourage you to pray this simple prayer before starting your school day. Lord, use me today. Let me be faithful, even when I don't see the outcome. Even when I'm so discouraged, I don't want to show up. If you take this one thing from today's episode, please let it be that. Use that prayer. Your work matters, my friend, even when you don't see the results. I challenge you to do one of these things. Write down a moment, big or small, that has reminded you why you teach. Is it a kind word from a student? Is it a tiny behavioral improvement that you've seen in someone? Or a lesson you saw the light go on behind someone's eyes? I remember those moments. Hold on to those. Let it remind you that God is working through you. Your work is not taken for granted. If you're feeling discouraged, my friends, here's another scripture for you, Galatians 6:9. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. You are planting seeds that will grow in God's time. Keep going, my friends. I'll see you on the next episode. And if this episode encouraged you, hey, come on over to the Facebook group, Christian Educator Connection. I'd love to hear what keeps you going and how these hard days are challenged, but how you manage to get through them. Come over there and encourage someone else. We'd love to meet you in the group. I'll see you over there. Bye for now. See you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found anything helpful here, please leave a quick review. It helps more Christian teachers find the support they need. Join us over on Facebook in the Christian Educator Connection group. Search that title or find the link in the show notes. Keep showing up, my friends. Keep leading with grace, and remember, you're not walking this path alone. We're in this together.